Imagine stepping into your brand new $500,000 home on day one. You pour a glass of champagne, and then you open a letter from the county letting you know your property taxes are jumping by like $6,000 a year.
Oh, that is just a brutal reality check.
Right. Or, discovering your homeowners association is legally forcing you to pay $10,000 special assessment for a community roof you don't even own.
Yeah, that happens all the time, honestly.
It's crazy. And that's the reality for thousands of home buyers who approach real estate like they're just buying a latte at a coffee shop.
Yeah.
They look only at the sticker price and totally ignore the massive financial machinery operating behind the scenes.
It really is a devastating wake-up call because, a house isn't just a retail purchase. It's a highly leveraged, illiquid asset.
Exactly.
When you're dealing with hundreds of thousands of borrowed dollars, ignorance isn't just a little inconvenient. It is catastrophically expensive.
So true. Well, welcome to this custom-tailored deep dive designed specifically for you. Mastering the massive, terrifying financial leap of buying a home is your goal. And today, we're giving you the blueprint.
That's right.
We're drawing from a really comprehensive guide titled Questions to Ask When Buying a House, 20 Must Ask. But we aren't just going to list these questions out like a textbook.
No, we're going to actually decode the mechanisms behind them.
Exactly. The goal here is to cut through the information overload. By the time we're done, you'll know exactly how to pull back the curtain, avoid major buyer's remorse, and really turn a chaotic process into a calculated, confident step.
And honestly, that whole process starts before you even look at a real estate app. The most crucial work happens in your own financial ecosystem.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before you step foot in an open house, you really have to look deeply into your own wallet. Buying a home is basically like an iceberg.
I love that analogy.
Right, like the sticker price is just the tip above the water, but the true cost is literally everything lurking beneath the surface.
Yeah, and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the CFPB, is incredibly stringent on this point. They explain exactly why you have to audit your income stability, your current debt flow, and your liquid savings first.
Not just because a lender requires it.
Exactly, because a lender's formula doesn't account for your actual day-to-day life. A lender might look at your gross income and approve you for a massive loan.
But they don't see the full picture. We need to stop looking at buying a home like buying a consumer product. It's more like acquiring a small business.
That is the exact mental shift required.
You wouldn't buy a business just by looking at its gross revenue. A house is a mini corporation. It has operating expenses, tax burdens, depreciating assets, and, emergency liabilities.
Right. So if your revolving debt is eating your monthly cash flow and you don't have a robust emergency fund,
what happens when that mini corporation needs a $12,000 HVAC replacement?
You become house poor instantly. You have the asset, but you lack the liquidity to actually operate it.
Which brings us to the mortgage itself. There's this huge delta between your mortgage cost and your total monthly payment. A lot of buyers just punch the loan amount into an online calculator and think, great, I can totally afford $2,000 a month.
And they completely neglect escrow.
Yes.
Your mortgage payment is just the principal and interest going back to the bank. Your total monthly payment has to include property taxes and homeowners insurance.
And here's the mechanism that just traps people, right? Property taxes often reset when a house is sold.
Yes, this is a massive blind spot. The current owner might be paying taxes based on an assessed value from, 10 years ago.
Right, and then when you buy the house at today's inflated market price, the county reassesses it. Your tax bill could legally double in your first year of ownership.
It's terrifying. And then there's private mortgage insurance, or PMI.
Oh man, PMI. A lot of people see this fee and assume it's some sort of safety net for them if they lose their job or something.
What's really fascinating here is how misunderstood PMI actually is. Private mortgage insurance does absolutely nothing to protect you.
Wait, really? Nothing at all?
Nothing. If you put less than 20% down, the bank views you as a higher default risk. So they force you to pay a monthly premium for an insurance policy that protects the lender.
Wow. So you're just paying to reduce their risk profile.
Exactly. You are paying to protect them in case they have to foreclose on you.
That's wild. Okay, speaking of risk profiles, let's look at the terms of the loan itself. Specifically, fixed versus adjustable rate mortgages.
This is a huge one.
I know an adjustable rate mortgage, an ARM, starts with a lower teaser rate, but considering the volatility we've seen in the economy, who is actually using an ARM strategically versus who is just kind of walking into a trap?
Well, it really comes down to your personal timeline. Say you're a corporate executive who gets transferred to a new city every 4 years. A 51 ARM makes perfect sense for you.
Because you take advantage of the lower introductory rate and you just sell the asset before the rate ever adjusts.
Exactly. But if you're buying your forever home and you treat an ARM like a 30-year set-and-forget loan,
You're basically gambling your housing security on the Federal Reserve.
you really are. If market rates skyrocket in year 6, your monthly payment skyrockets right with it.
Okay, so we need to know the true cost of borrowing the money, which is why the source really emphasizes looking at the APR over the interest rate. But, I mean, lenders aren't exactly super transparent about the differences.
No, they aren't, because the interest rate is strictly the cost of the money itself. But the APR, the annual percentage rate, is the total operating cost of the loan.
Right, so it bakes in the broker fees, the discount points, specific closing costs, and it spreads them out as a yearly rate.
Exactly. A lender might lure you in with an incredibly low interest rate, but when you actually look at the APR, you realize they're charging you exorbitant upfront fees to get it.
And the most shocking fee of all, which I read in the source and honestly couldn't believe, the prepayment penalty. You're telling me a bank will literally penalize you financially for paying off your debt early?
They absolutely will. Think about it from their perspective. Banks project their revenue based on 30 years of compounded interest.
Right.
If you aggressively pay down your principal and close the loan in 10 years, they just lost 2 decades of expected profit. So some lenders bake a prepayment penalty into the contract to recoup that lost revenue.
That is precisely why the golden rule from our source material is to secure at least 3 different loan estimates, right? You have to lay them side by side.
Always get 3. Always. One might have a lower rate but a higher APR and a prepayment penalty. You really have to cross-examine the debt before you sign for it.
Okay, but locking in a pristine mortgage with 0 penalties means absolutely nothing if the asset you just financed is actively deteriorating,
Very true.
which shifts us from the financial ledger to the physical structure. And once the financing is clear, the house hunting begins. But how do you ensure the house you can afford isn't just a beautifully decorated money pit?
It's a great question.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because I want to push back on this a little bit. It's so easy to get distracted by great staging, nice furniture, the smell of fresh cookies. But isn't it the inspector's job to find the problems? Why do I need to ask so many questions?
I get that, but asking questions before you fall in love saves you time and major heartbreak.
Yeah, I guess so. The source guide tells us we need to be interrogating the seller about the age of the roofs, the HVAC, structural issues. But let's look at the reality of a hot seller's market.
Right.
If I am walking around an open house, aggressively interrogating the listing agent about foundation cracks, they're just going to sell the house to the buyer who waived their inspection and offered 50 grand over asking. Doesn't doing all this upfront due diligence actually put me at a disadvantage?
Well, this raises an important point about strategy versus self-preservation. Yes, in a hyper-competitive market, demanding answers creates friction. Sellers prefer the path of least resistance.
Totally.
But you have to ask yourself, are you trying to win a bidding war, or are you trying to secure a sound financial future?
Oh, that's a good distinction.
They pull a real-world example directly from the source to illustrate this danger. Imagine buying a home and discovering later that the roof needs an immediate replacement, and the HOA fees are actually $400 a month. That equals thousands a year in unexpected hidden costs. Winning a house that requires 40 grand in undisclosed structural repairs isn't a victory. It's a financial catastrophe.
It's basically the ultimate Pyrrhic victory. You won the house, but you totally destroyed your wealth.
Exactly. And relying solely on the inspector is a massive psychological trap.
How so?
Well, buyers wait weeks for the inspection. By that point, they've put down earnest money, they've negotiated, they've emotionally picked out paint colors.
Oh, right. They're already attached.
Exactly. So when the inspector finally says, hey, the foundation is sinking, the buyer is so emotionally compromised by the sunk cost fallacy that they rationalize the damage just to close the deal.
Wow. So asking these questions on day one acts as like an emotional circuit breaker.
Precisely. You ask about the specific age of the roof and major systems because they have fixed lifespans. A 20-year-old water heater isn't just a quirk of the house. It is a pending capital expense you will absolutely have to fund.
And you also have to ask for the seller's disclosures immediately, right?
Right.
Because they are legally required to disclose known material defects like past fires, unpermitted additions, past damage.
Yes. You must look aggressively at the ongoing operational costs tied to the physical property, too. Specifically, the homeowners association.
Yeah, HOA fees are the silent killer of the monthly budget. But it's not just the monthly fee that's dangerous, right?
Not at all. The monthly fee just covers basic maintenance, maybe some landscaping. The real danger is the special assessment.
Right.
If the HOA hasn't properly funded their reserve accounts, meaning they haven't saved enough cash for major community repairs, and, say, the clubhouse roof collapses, they have the legal authority to levy a special assessment.
So suddenly, every homeowner is handed an unexpected bill for thousands of dollars.
Exactly. You must ask for the HOA's financial documents up front to see if their reserves are actually fully funded.
Which just proves that a pristine, perfectly priced house doesn't exist in a vacuum. You're buying into an ecosystem, and the surrounding environment ultimately dictates its true value and, honestly, your daily happiness.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, location dictates both your immediate quality of life and long-term property value. Location is the one variable you absolutely cannot renovate.
Right. You can gut a kitchen, you can rebuild a roof, but you cannot move a property to a better zoning district.
No, you can't.
The source heavily emphasizes checking out the neighborhood, crime rates, commute length, and specifically school districts, even for buyers who don't have kids. Why should a dink couple, double income, no kids, care about the local elementary school ratings?
Because high-tier school districts act as an invisible financial hedge.
Really?
Yeah. Historically, homes zoned for top-rated schools hold their value significantly better during national housing market downturns, and they appreciate much faster during economic booms.
Oh, I see. So you're basically buying the demand that the school district generates.
Exactly. The source also points out the necessity of investigating future planned developments. And the mechanism here is fascinating because zoning changes everything.
Yeah, it really does. You might walk into a backyard with a beautiful, serene view of an empty field. But if you don't check the municipal zoning records, you might not realize that field was just approved for a massive 24-hour distribution center.
Yep. Within 2 years, your serene view is replaced by diesel exhaust, industrial lighting, and constant truck traffic. Your property value plummets just because you didn't ask what the future of the neighborhood looked like.
And that level of critical awareness really needs to be activated the second you step into an open house. Because open houses are inherently deceptive, aren't they?
Oh, they're entirely a performance.
The source calls out checking for signs of water damage or foundation issues, but it also mentions looking beyond the surface at livability, natural light, layout, storage space, and noise levels. It's brilliant because an open house is basically theatrical staging.
It really is. The staging furniture is often scaled down, like 30% smaller than standard furniture, to make the rooms look mathematically larger.
Wait, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. The lights are blazing to fake natural sunshine. They bake cookies so the olfactory response triggers a sense of home.
So you really have to break the illusion. It's so easy for buyers to forget to test the noise level or check the storage space when they're just trying to picture where their couch will go.
Exactly.
You have to turn off the music. What do you actually hear? Are the neighbors fighting? Is there a highway echoing off the back wall? Open the closets? Did they just take the doors off to make a tiny space look deep, leaving you with absolutely nowhere to put your vacuum cleaner?
You have to interact with the house as a physical machine, not a film set.
Okay, so you've vetted the money, the physical house, and the neighborhood ecosystem. Now comes the actual transaction navigating the buying process without fumbling the deal.
The chess match.
Exactly. So what does this all mean for the actual closing? How do you take all this data and use it as leverage?
Well, this is where your questions shift from discovery to pure negotiation strategy. The very first question for the seller's agent is always, how long has this property been on the market?
Days on market. Why is that the ultimate metric?
Because it measures the seller's psychological fatigue and financial bleed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, every 30 days that house sits unsold, the seller is paying another mortgage, another tax bill, another utility bill. If it's been on the market for 90 days, they're likely bleeding cash and losing hope.
Which gives you massive leverage to negotiate a lower price or, demand they cover your closing costs.
Exactly.
But what if you're in the opposite scenario? You ask about competing offers, and the agent says they have 4 offers on the table.
Then your strategy pivots from price to timeline. You ask the agent, what is the seller's ideal closing window?
Good.
If the seller is relocating for a job and needs to close in a lightning-fast 21 days, and you're pre-approved and can meet that deadline, Your offer suddenly becomes incredibly attractive.
Even if it's not the highest dollar amount.
Right. Conversely, they might need 60 days to let their kids finish the school year. If you offer a flexible timeline, you can often win the house without having to be the absolute highest bidder. You're solving their logistical problem.
That's smart. But even in a really competitive situation, the source specifically highlights a recommendation directly from the Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD. They explicitly advise getting a thorough home inspection and carefully reviewing all documents before closing.
Yeah. HUD recognizes the sheer asymmetry of information in real estate. The seller knows all the house's secrets, the buyer knows none of them.
Right.
The inspection and the document review period are your only legal mechanisms to level the playing field. You should never waive your right to discover what you're actually buying. What happens if the inspection reveals major issues? You need that out.
And this brings up the fundamental tension of this entire process, which the source captures in a really interesting trade-offs table.
Yeah.
There is a massive friction point here.
There really is.
Buyers desperately want cost clarity, negotiation power, absolute confidence. But doing all of this deep dive due diligence takes more time up front, requires heavy research, and in a fast-moving market, doing all that might actually delay your offer.
That is the exact trade-off every buyer must face. Ignorance is fast. Diligence is slow.
Yeah.
It's incredibly tempting to skip the questions and just throw money at the seller to secure the asset. But this guide makes the compelling case that the friction is mandatory. The time you spend upfront researching tax histories and loan APRs translates directly into absolute cost clarity and total confidence. You're trading a little bit of speed for a lifetime of financial security.
Which leads us perfectly into synthesizing all of this. Because we've covered a massive amount of ground today, from prepayment penalties to municipal zoning. Based on the insights from this guide, we really want to tailor this framework directly to your specific situation and where you are in life right now.
Definitely. Because not every buyer has the same blind spots.
Right. So if you are buying your first home, your primary vulnerability is cash flow. You need to relentlessly focus on the budget and loan terms. Audit the loan, the escrow, the total monthly payment. Do not let staging distract you from your monthly spreadsheet.
Spot on. But if you're someone who is worried about hidden issues, maybe you don't have a massive emergency fund for sudden repairs, then the physical condition is your battleground. You must prioritize the inspection and comb through the seller's disclosures.
And if you care about long-term value, your focus has to be entirely on the neighborhood trends. You're buying the school district and the municipal zoning board's future plans. You're playing the long game.
And finally, if you want to avoid financial stress overall, you just have to audit all ongoing costs. Focus on the total cost, the condition, and long-term value.
It's all about using these questions as a shield. Ultimately, what is the core thesis we're pulling from all this research?
The final takeaway is that you can't just focus on the price. The list price is an illusion. True value is determined by the total cost, condition, and long-term value. You have to ask detailed questions, compare options, and take your time.
It really requires a complete rewiring of how we think about purchasing. We wish buying a house was as transparent as an X-ray, but since it isn't, understanding the why behind these 20 questions acts as a powerful sonar system. But I want to leave you with a final lingering question to ponder on your own, building directly on what we discussed regarding future developments and noise levels.
Okay, let's hear it.
Imagine you take this advice. You ask about future developments, and you discover that a massive commercial zone is being built nearby. The math is undeniable. The property value of that house is practically guaranteed to skyrocket over the next few years.
A huge financial upside.
Right. But the reality of that development means increased noise, permanent traffic, and a complete loss of the quiet, serene neighborhood feel that drew you to the street in the first place. How do you weigh those two opposing forces? Does a smart investment always equal a happy home? Or are there moments when the financial upside of your property value skyrocketing has to take a backseat to the messy reality of where you actually want to live your daily life?
It really forces you to define whether you are buying a home to live in or an asset to manage.
Exactly. Something to deeply consider as you build your own strategy. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this armed you with the exact tools you need to step into the market with absolute confidence. If you found this breakdown valuable, consider subscribing and definitely share this with anyone you know who is about to take the real estate plunge. Until next time, keep looking beneath the surface and keep asking the right questions.